Now this is the Cities Skylines 2 logo. So is this in Cities Skylines 2. And as you've guessed, we are going to build this in today's episode. But hold on, it's not the typical kind of sandbox without money and everything unlocked build. No, we are actually building this in the normal gameplay. That means we had to do all of that on stream without having everything unlocked, without having unlimited funding. We had to make it work, and we did make it work. Well, kind of. You'll see that later on in the real-time part. So if you want to stick around for some minor cheating, I guess, you'll find that out in the real-time part. It's not included. Also, I've reacted to all of your feedback. The time-lapse is now only sped up by 4.5 times rather than 8 times as it used to be in the first episodes. I just had so much material that I, needed to decide what goes in, and this time I decided to cut out a couple of things. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the build. I actually rebuild the logo. Now, I do have to mention that it's not exactly perfectly fine. There are some dimensions I didn't really fit in nicely, which to my defense was mainly because of being restricted to certain of, to some of these kind of tiles I had available at the beginning, because it was really hard to find the right size properly, and later on I needed to just kind of deal with a couple of shenanigans here and there, making sure that it just looks somewhat the same, but then again offers me to build the city. I do have to mention though that I found a very good sweet spot between making it really looking like the Cities Skylines 2 logo, but at the same time maintaining a certain size for the city that works. That said, to really make a city properly work and also profitable in the future, I guess you would need to at least double the size that I've gone for. You could even triple or even quadruple the size easily in the maps we have available. But I think, with this rather smaller version, it was more of a limitation and so more of a challenge, which I do actually love. At this early stage of the game, it's really about testing and seeing how much we can stretch out the creative muscles and how much we can do in the game. One thing I have to mention though is also I've been building without flattening the ground too. That is going to cause us some issues with the terrain in later stages of the build, but you'll see that along the way of the time lapse. It's been, well, you can see it here on screen, it's been a challenge, but a challenge that we truly overcame in a very brilliant way, and I'm pretty happy with that. As you can see over here, as soon as I figured out how the terrain really will affect us, I started to create some streets that actually break with the different height elevations, and I think this is till now the best trick I have for dealing with all these different height elevations. I have that in nearly all of my cities, but this is the San Francisco map, by the way. This one is specifically hard to achieve, and also the crazy height terrain height differences will cause some issues with the perspective of this build. It's pretty decent and it's pretty close to what the actual logo is like, but since the overall terrain, and you'll see that in some of the cinematics and some of the real-time part later on, the height elevation, usually as it is in San Francisco, is pretty noticeable, and also it kind of bends a little bit of the perspective. That was also causing some issues while measuring, because since it wasn't perfectly flat, I needed to measure that a little bit differently, simply because the length of the road is also dependent on the elevation, which it makes just sense. But it would have been more easy for me if the road was perfectly flat, so I could have measured it a little bit more easily, since I couldn't import anything and I was just checking the in-game logo of the menu every now and then. Speaking of layouting, I obviously went on layouting this city, and this is the part where the biggest mistake of this entire build happened. I built this from a perspective that we wouldn't grow the city rather large because the size is not given. I was really wrong. You can really cramp a lot in a city, but then the layout is super wrong. And if I would need to attempt this a second time, I would have definitely gone for a central axis rather than relying on the outside borders of our tiles, like these specific tiles of the logo. I relied on the outside tiles in order to make sure that we use them as road to guide also our traffic later on, including the tramway and including the buses and stuff. But the problem is, since I made them as my guidance, I could not improve them later on upon using the upgrade tool and making them wider, for example, because then I would have destroyed the overall shape simply because you drag them a little bit more out and make this whole thing a little more fat. I potentially could do this if I would be able to grow them all, but that didn't work simply because of connections, intersections, and blah 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 and whatnot, and also because of the little gaps I held in between the different logo tiles. They would be too close to each other then. It's been a shame. So for the next time, this is a learning that I would go with a central spine and also make sure that the tunnel connection is a bit more logical than I did in here. But you know, I just went on and tried my best to grow it organically. And all these things I just mentioned would have required a lot more planning ahead. And this is obviously a little difficult when you are building in the normal kind of vanilla mode, getting money in and all these kind of things you need to consider. Hence, I am very happy still how it turned out in the end, because it still is pretty good. We also have some really decent skylines, we have decent areas, suburban areas, really nice. And I do certainly enjoyed making this challenge because it kind of put me in a position where I needed to overcome some issues I did not have previously. Like, you know, normally you're just branching out your city organically, finding more space, going for the natural resources and blah blah blah, but within this limitation you had to try to make your best with the space given. And there is a little bit of a dissonance between how much industry demand a city has. At least I think as of now it might be a tiny bit too ridiculous. You'll see that later on. Like, half of the city is going to be industrial zones, and it will still not be even halfway enough. So the left part of the city, which is where the people are living, which goes down to the fact that the wind is going to push the air pollution in the other direction, so the right hand side is safe, so we could use that. But the left hand side is where the people live, you know, in order to not have the air and noise pollution. But, and this is one of the issues I then, you know, ran into, even the population of the left-hand side being only half, doesn't even have enough jobs on the right-hand side in the industrial zones, which made me wonder how that even would be possible, considering that one factory would obviously have, space-wise, more employees than in one house would live. Like, a house obviously offers more space, you roam around, and not everyone is living in like a huge skyscraper at this time. So we also have some suburban areas and some low-res residential. So low dense residential. So I'm not really entirely sure how that logically would work. Like, why would you have companies that house like 11 to 12 to 13 people, and then you have got like houses on the other side of the city which only have 1 or 2 people living in there, and then still the job and people balance. I mean, yeah, kids, yeah, elderly, I get this. It just kind of still causes some issues, and I'm not really entirely sure how that is balanced, or maybe if it's balanced out better later, if you have like huge office buildings that can house up to 100 or more employees. Not entirely sure, and I wasn't able to figure out exactly what the issue is. So if you guys in the comments are clever enough to help me out, let me know, because that would help me grow something like that in the future again. And something I will repeat at the end of the episode: if you guys want to make me do these challenges more often, make sure to drop some ideas below if you have some. I already have a lot of ideas in my mind, some of which I've already started doing, but this was really fun. And obviously we could do the same now with the font, like we did it just with the logo, but we could have easily also done this with the font, like Cities font, which we would have been a little bit more bigger, I guess, with it. But at the end of the day, it would be just more of the same, and I wanted to do something else, I guess. Now, yeah, I pretty much think that this is a good build for what it was intended to be. And it was also rather straightforward. We almost finished this in one 3.5 hour stream on Twitch, which honestly I have not expected that we would even get that far. But this also shows how much more powerful the current gen technology in this game is, which is equally demanding. But we were able to stream at the same time, which is good. And also, I did not mention this in the real-time part, I already recorded that. We will bring the city up to 10,000 inhabitants. You'll not see that on screen, but right after I stop the recording, we made it to the 10,000 inhabitant marks, which is kind of beautiful because that is exactly what we wanted to have. Like, not the number, but like something that showcases how much you can do in here. And yeah, I'm really happy with how this works, and I'm really happy also with the fact that this is working. I should have also paid attention a little bit more at the beginning where the fertility land is, or the fertile land is, because then I would have squeezed like a nice little farm in here to even showcase everything that Cities offers. Because at the moment I've got offices, I've got public transportation, I've got industrial zones, I've got the low res, mid res, high res residential. Everything is represented in the logo, within the logo, parks and stuff, schools and everything you can imagine. The only thing I was not able to squeeze in is one of the specified industries, which is a little bit of a pity. I wished to have like a little farm in there, like at least like a little chicken coop or something, but even that we didn't have the unfortunately we didn't have the fertile land in there. But yeah, you can also tell I was checking some of the money situation. You can see it's doing okay, but only because of reaching milestones. Like, the city wouldn't survive if there weren't milestones to crack. So yeah, at the end of the day, this is what we needed to do. Like, it's great, you know. I mean, it's cool that it works, but at the end of the day, the money is only lent to you for a bit, and as soon as you grow, you cannot rely on the money that you'll be given with the next progression, you know, point. At the beginning, it's a huge amount of money, but the more you get into the game, the more you want to build, the less it does help you. Like, the amounts get bigger, yes, but not equally bigger in relation to what you need to do at a certain point. Anyhow, you can see the shape is almost done. We needed to purchase a couple more tiles, and this was exactly the struggle I had. I needed to ensure that we have enough enough progress points to make sure that we reach the next level in order to unlock the tiles. And this is why I couldn't really go for the exact size at the beginning. I wished to be a bit more bigger and bolder with the logo, to have more space to fit certain things in. But then again, I didn't know how fast I would be unlocking the tiles. And truth to be told, this exactly thing happened. I did not unlock the tiles quick enough to branch out quick enough. So I'm not even sure if it would have worked if I went bigger with the city. So it might, because I would have had more space at the beginning and I could have gone a bit more crazy in. But I think maybe it wouldn't have even changed too much. Like, I don't know. But you can definitely tell that I am zoning a little bit more now in detail. I was trying to really figure out where to put certain zones in order to make the most of the space given. Spoiler, most of them have changed. I needed to change a lot of these zones in order to make them grow, because it was so finicky at this point. And if you spend a little second looking to the bottom left of the screen, you'll see that the demand is all over the place. Basically everything has high demand, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna put in some parks and stuff in order to make sure that some of these areas will upgrade over time, so that we have at least one issue gone with some of the residential zones. And then I started checking for some other things as well, putting some offices down, making sure everything is pre-zoned. And now obviously the last bit that was a little bit problematic was how to get in with some very much needed services, and that is public transportation. For example, bus services, we have the post service, we have internet connection, radio stations, and everything like that is something that needs to be in a city. And this is the vital part right now where I'm doing that. I was trying to find a nice spot. I was trying to get rid of the landfill and reduce it with the other reclamation blah blah plant, how that is called. But since this is equally huge, I just decided to leave it the way it is. And then I just went ahead and put in the tram station a little bit more different and connected everything together later on. As you can see, this is where the tram connection will go in, and then everything is nicely connected, putting some roads in between to make it more integrated. And you'll see the final result of how that has grown over there in the real-time part in a couple seconds. I thought it would be nice to, give you guys a little bit of a final call off in the real-time part without showing you everything already in the time lapse. And I really do hope that it was a lot more enjoyable now with only 4.5 times sped up. I hope that was a bit more enjoyable. I mean, it is sped up the way it is. There's not really that much to do about it, because we want to have a bit of a speed build. If I would do this all in real time, you would need to sit here for like 3.5 hours or more to see that. And I just think I mean, I would be glad if you do that, and I would be very happy to see this, but this is not the majority of people who would do that. So yeah, hope that I could just kind of make two kinds of people happy: those who already had a good time with the last one, and also those who might have needed a bit more slow-paced footage. So that's what I wanted to say. Now, with putting some of the bus stations down, this is what we do as the last thing before I hand you over into the real-time part. You can see I'm trying to reach every single corner of the map, which will work eventually, but it just will also work with a lot of caveats, but you'll see these caveats in here. Also, did I mention that like almost 3 natural disasters hit me? If you've seen my stream, or you may want to check out Twitch, there are some hilarious clips out there of disasters almost causing the city to break without or beyond repair, because I just saved the game before the disaster was happening. So every time I would reload in, I would relive the disaster. It's kind of 2023, I guess. Anyways, have fun with Real-Time Rudi. Alright, as promised, we are live in the game, and as you can see, this is the status quo of the city. I've done a couple of things since the last bit of the time-lapse, but this is also due to the fact that I wanted to show you some stuff, you know, how it is finished, kind of. I had to use a little trick, and this is obviously over here to break a little bit of the illusion, but it was just not doable with the amount of industrial zones, which, to be honest, is quite insane. The demand is crazy, and I wish that we have a bit more control over maybe, you know, getting a bit more bigger industrial zones, like bigger buildings or something like that, because honestly the demand in comparison to the city is rather ridiculous. So I also put like a field here, some you know, forestry over there, just making sure that something is there to give them some jobs, but we still have an insane demand of industrial jobs. Now, looking at the city, it turned out to be working a lot better than I thought. We do have certain traffic jams here and there, but other than that, I fixed a couple of things by making more underground tunnels that go in and out of the city. We have a lot more high-rises now, or like not high-rises, but like bigger residential zones where we have some more people in. And I have finally, and this is maybe my first project where we have a lot more mixed zoning, as you can see over here. And it just works like a charm. It honestly does work pretty well. You can see, actually, this looks fairly decent as of a town over here. We have a couple of commercials at the front. We've got more commercials to the ground. Then we've got the residential with one signature building in the back here, complementing the neighborhood. We have a lot of row houses over here, but it, you know, considering how much of a pain it was to build on these different height elevations over here, I mean, we are at the end in San Francisco as of this map, it looks pretty decent. I think with all the changes I did along the road, I should say, in the video, I actually fixed most of my biggest concerns with the different height elevations. And going through here, it all looks pretty decent. I mean, look at how much higher we are than the lower area over here. You can almost not see the lower end of the city. And this logo town became actually a lot better than I thought, you know. Sure, can we look into the house? Hello, are you living here? But sure, I mean, you know, there are some crazy height elevations and some things are broken. This is basically inevitable, but most of it does work pretty decently, and I am more than happy with that. I can definitely tell that, you know, there is room to improve, but I really do like the fact that we made it possible that this city works. I mean, this is kind of an ugly space over here, and I remember from this first, like the first teasers and the first gameplay I saw, I thought that the industrial zone is a little bit more modern and a bit less CO2 heavy, but at the end of the day it is, and it just kind of is super ugly with the air pollution and stuff like that. It does not look as heavy from up high, as you can tell. You basically don't see all the fumes coming up and so on, but the closer you get, it's becoming super dirty, and it looks like a steampunk city in a way. Yeah, our landfill is also kind of growing as we speak, but it's not as crazy. We've got kind of these, I love that we have these vehicles going over here. This vehicle, by the way, is insanely detailed. This is ridiculously detailed in comparison to everything else. But yeah, so this is the way it is, and there's really not much I can do about this. So this is the logo city from above. This is basically where I set off, and I think it's looking rather perfect at the end. I did not expect it to be turning out that perfect, but oh boy, do I love it. It really works out well. in order to make it like a really functioning city, it should be, I think, double the size, which would be easily doable in Cities Skylines, so that's not the question. But then you could also like fit a highway in the middle, you know. That's something I definitely should have done differently. I should have planned this like with a bit of a bigger central axis and then really connect the roads at the end of them. This is a bit more of a random road layout, to be honest, and this ended up being a bit more, you know, hard to connect. So at the end of the day, a central spline that goes through all of these you know, quarters should be a lot more simple. But yeah, it just works. Let me just go out of the camera. I can see, oh my god, we even you know, got to busy town. Look at that. I did not expect to go there, but we are growing along the line. As you can see, we have demand even for the high density residential, which we didn't even have unlocked at this point. So I can't really do this. Low rent, I think low rent housing does work for it, but yeah. So at the end of the day, this is how it all looks. What do we have going on over here? This is a ground pollution. Okay, I don't care. We've got a traffic jam in the tunnel. Or this is actually a traffic accident. But we don't even have, or I think we do. We have. Wait a sec. I'm not sure if we do have a road maintenance building. Oh no, we don't even have that. But we don't even have a free space to plop it down. So I guess everything has to be. Oh my god, is it burning inside of the tunnel? Yeah. Can we see that from over here? Oh my god, look at that! What an accident, just at the entrance of the tunnel. I'm also not sure, can I actually go into the tunnels in general? I don't know. I've never tested that. Yeah, so they're all excuse me? Okay, I think I broke it. Okay, I can't really go in there other than here, but I can. Potentially I could zoom in a little. Oops. There you go. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of a traffic accident going on and we don't have a road maintenance, so it's good that I saved this file at this point, because I would need to squeeze the road maintenance in there somewhere in order to make it work again. But yeah, just to show you, look at the different height elevations in the build. It is rather ridiculous with what I had to build. I could have just paved this everything at the beginning, but where's the fun, you know? Where's the fun part of it? Honestly, I love building this logo city, and I will definitely do more of these challenges in the future. If you have good ideas for challenges like that, let me know in the comments down below. Maybe we do other logos, maybe we do other stuff like giving us a certain restriction to build in. I think this is the best you can do at the moment, as we have to jiggle around with like Northern American and European style, which honestly they go well together, but that also means they are pretty similar, which means we don't really have that much variation. So we have to kind of keep on going and try being more creative with different kind of scenarios on our own. So that's what I've done with this one over here, and if you want to see more of it in the future, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. This was an awesome experience. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope to see you in the next one. And by the way, if you don't want to miss out on more Cities Skylines content, or eventually also Planet Zoo, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I would be more than happy to welcome you, and as always, you know how much you help me out on YouTube, telling this freaking platform that you like the content. It's the easiest way, it's so free, and it does make me smile a lot. And if you haven't seen a camel smile, you better should. Now, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.